Hi and welcome to another video tutorial. In this video I will show how you can create your own code and publish it to Docker Hub, and after that you will be able to run your code on your WAGO PFC 200 generation 2. I have tried to show here how the thought process was, so you get an idea of what's going to happen in this tutorial. I have made some test code or example code on GitHub, so we will download the GitHub repository to your PC. Then we will test my code, example code, and then we will run it on a container on your Windows PC. Once that has been done, we will create an image, a Docker image, and then we will upload it to Docker Hub. After the image is on Docker Hub and it has been converted into a format that will fit the architecture of the WAGO PFC, then we can run the container or download the image to all the PFCs we wish, and then we can run a container from that on the PFC. So first step is to go to my Docker repository. It is on GitHub. So we go to github.com, Danny Olsen /WAGO Docker on PFC. That will take you to this place, and if you click on the README file, I have tried to explain how to do this, and it should be a good place to go back and get snippets and stuff you need to compile program code. I have made a list of the programs that have been used. I use a GitHub desktop. It makes it very easy to synchronize your repositories from GitHub. Also, you need a Docker desktop to make this work. Anaconda I use since I'm playing with Python programming here, and Anaconda is very good for managing virtual environments and Python versions and so on. To edit my code, I use Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It's used many places, and I find it extremely good, and I'm very happy with it. So first steps, create an account on Docker. I have already created an account on Docker. I can go there, docker.com, and here you create your account. Also, I would like to install the Docker desktop. I can follow this link here, and then you can download and install Docker. I have already done this, and I will spin up Docker desktop as we speak then. So Docker desktop is running, and I can see I have already some containers here that are running. I am also logged in. This is important to be logged in if we want to publish our Docker image to Docker Hub later on. Next thing up is we want to get the repository from that I have made. The repository consists of some code, not too much. If you go here, you can see that there are some files in this package. This we want to download, and this can be done by going to this code here, and then you click copy here. I start up GitHub desktop, which I have also downloaded. I wish to clone a repository, so I go to File and I press Clone Repository. And here I press Ctrl V, like that, in the URL, and then I say Clone. So now these files are on my computer. So if I open up Visual Studio Code, and I say open folder, I can go to my GitHub library. I have placed mine in documents in GitHub, and then I search for the WAGO Docker on PFC library that I have just downloaded. I select the folder, and I now see my files. I see, for example, the README file we were in just before. We see a Docker file. This helps us to create the image from our Python program, and here I have made a tiny Python program also that should be our test program, and this program we would like to run on the PFC eventually, but first we need to check if the program is working. I use Anaconda. So here in environments, I have made an environment specifically for this tutorial. You just press create environment, and then I have called it env Docker on PFC. I go to home, and then you can choose your environment from here. And after you do that, you press launch, and then Visual Studio Code will start up, and it will be using this environment that you have just created here. Another way to do it inside Visual Studio Code, if you press Shift Control P, then this will show up. Actually, you need to install some extensions first. So you go to extensions, and then you will write Python. And here you can see I have it installed already. So this you need first. Then once you have done that, you can press Shift Control P, select Interpreter, and then you choose the environment you wish to use in order to run the program. And here we choose env Docker on PFC that I showed you just before in Anaconda. Let's try to run the program. I can go to run, and then I say start debugging. I choose Python file, and here we go. Hello world, this program is running. What's your name, my friend? And my name is Danny. I will write Danny. And we see it replied as we expected, and the program has ended. So the program is working. So now we would like to run this program in a container. So for this we need a file called Docker file. It's simply a file called Docker file. It doesn't have any extension or anything. We don't need to expose any ports. That's why it has been commented out. But basically what it says in this Docker file is that we want to pull an image from Docker Hub that is called Python. We have to define a working dir, and then we will copy our files, the MyPython program file. We will copy that into the image. When we start up or run a container from the image, then the container will automatically first write Python, and then it will and then write MyPython program.py afterwards, which if you would wish to run a Python program, you would write something like this, MyPython program.py. So this is basically what the container will be doing automatically, and that's why the program will be running when you run the container. We need to build the image, so I go back to my GitHub repository, or actually I can just look into the README file that is here. So we see here I have some helping lines. I show the structure of the Docker file. Also here, if we want to build the image, we want to write Docker build, and then we can give the image like a tag name. So in my case, I just call my image my tag. I will copy this line and then I put it into the terminal down here. I have to make sure that I'm in the same directory as the Docker file up here. So I will press enter. Oh, I see I made a little mistake here. We are not allowed to use uppercase letters in here, so I will make this a small t instead and press enter. So now if I run write Docker images, I will get a list of all the images I have installed, and we can see one of the images is my tag. Another way to check this, if you are not so good at remembering all the commands, is to go into the Docker desktop app, and then you can click on images, and then we hopefully will see, and we can see here that my image has been created less than a minute ago. So now we wish to start a container from that image, and again we can go back to the README file, and we will then we can write here Docker run, and then --rm is will remove the container after it has shut down, so we won't start up a new container all the time. So I copy and then I will paste this, and then I say Docker run. Oh yeah, so here we get an error. So because we in the program we want the user to put in an input like their name. So in this case we need to make the container interactive. So I will write Docker run --rm, and then I say -it, which means interactive, and then I will try and run it again. So this time it is working. So now I write my name, and we can see the program response, and the program ends. So now we have a working container. We now want to get this onto our PFC. So we need to create an image, but we need to compile it so it fits the architecture of the PFC. Again, we can go back into the README file. And here I have made a comment how to make the code compatible with the WAGO PFC. So if you take this line, of course you need to adjust it to your own Docker repository. Then I copy this, and then I paste it here. So here I use something called build X, and I will build for a certain platform, and we need to build it for a platform which has a processor that is an ARM v7. This I will run, it will build it, and then it will also push the finished image to my repository online. So it has been done now. I should be able to go on to Docker, go to my own repository. And here I now have a few seconds ago I have published a repository, WAGO Docker on PFC. I will copy this snippet here, and then I will log into my PFC. I have Need to make sure I'm connected here. So I have a PFC with Docker running on. Is it like this? I'll check if Docker is running, or if I even have Docker on it. I can just write Docker. I can see it respond, so I have Docker on it. I can see if I have any running containers on it. Nothing is running. Docker images. At the moment, I do not have an image called WAGO Docker on PFC. So if I wish to run my program on the PFC, I can now type here. This is the. I can add latest to this. I can then say Docker run, and I will say RM, since I don't want the containers to stay after I have run my program. It has to be interactive, since I need to give inputs. Also, I can give it a name. Let me just check. How is it done? Yeah, so it's -- name, and then I can specify a name. So I go back. So it's here, -- name. I will call it my container, and I will run it. So we just try to run the container, and the PFC will realize that it does not have this image on downloaded yet, so it will download and install the container or the image, and then after that it will run the container. So let's see what happens. It's unable to find the image locally, so it had something installed already. It's probably the Python part of it, so it will just download the parts that it has not yet available. And now the program is running. I can type in Danny, and the program has ended. Now if I go in and say Docker images, what do I have here? I can see I have this image downloaded. Yeah. So that is basically how you do it. Have fun playing around with it.